Hello there, and welcome to this week's review of Obi-Wan Kenobi. This week, of course, diving into part 4. Just a little heads up. There's going to be a little discussion not only of Kenobi, but we might dive into Ms. Marvel and the boys as well. So I just want to give you a pre-heads up warning on spoilers on all of these. Of course, joining me as often is friend of the show and my semi-regular cohort right here on D's Reviews from Smirking Reviews. It's Rob Stone.
What's up, everybody? I'm back after last week's big Darth Vader attack on Obi-Wan, and now it's time to rescue Princess Leia again. And let's just jump into it. I'm ready to go. Let's talk about some pop culture.
Perfect. Sorry, I have a moth floating around in here.
I do too. I'm not kidding.
He's just flying from screen to screen. We have a digital moth, folks. Things are just moving on to that level at this point. So let's talk about this week. I think we'll probably have, it was a short episode. It was only about 30 minutes, 32 minutes or so, all told. A very straightforward episode. So I don't really know how much to get into on all of that. So we'll kind of keep it just a little more free flow tonight. So overall, what did you think of this one? The internet's a little mixed for sure, but what were you thinking on this one, Rob?
The length of it, a lot of the stuff that happens, it felt like a Clone Wars episode, felt like a Rebels episode, just with characters that are, weren't on those shows really. A very contained episode where they just you got to get to Princess Leia, got to figure out how to get her out of there, and then move on to the thing. Each one of these episodes has kind of felt like this is the episode where this has to happen. This is the episode where this has to happen, and they finish off. Each episode kind of like finishes clean to jump into the next thing. Thankfully, we're not we weren't spending like 2 episodes here, or like 2 episodes in the last place. Like, it's nice that we're jumping around. It's moving really fast.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people are probably surprised that, like, I thought that, the Princess Leia angle would be over when we first started, like, this whole thing. And nope, this is what it's going to be about. And I'm fine with that because I'm really enjoying the actress who plays Leia. And I still say that the only problem I've had is that I got into it with somebody. Not got into it, but had a difference of opinion on the writing for this character. They keep saying, "Oh, she's just a kid." And I'm like, Princess Leia isn't just a kid. She is very, very savvy and smart, and she's been raised by savvy politicians. And she knows the score, and she knows when she's in danger. And so, like, when my problem has been, like, when you see her in this episode, she is so, like, she understands for the most part what's going on and the importance of it all, even if she gets scared, later on. But I really liked what they're doing with her. I still like what they're doing with Obi-Wan. My issues are writing choices, some directing choices, and a little bit of canon stuff, but otherwise it's just fun. And I do like how some people are calling this like a love letter to the prequels and to Clone Wars and to all these things. And I also got to try to remind myself that a lot of the people that are watching this and are really into it and are from the newer generation, they're not carrying all the baggage that we are. And you can show your kids Star Wars now, but they're just not gonna, they'll feel that connection, but they won't have the years of waiting that we went through and all that anticipation that we had, going after 1983, all we had were books and some mediocre video games until the prequels. So we've had like a lot of just stuff built up in it, and I think that the younger audiences are appreciating this in a way that I would like to tap into. Like, I think it's important to try to watch this stuff with a little less concern about the past and more about, like, is it delivering a good enough story? And despite some of those problems that I'm having, they're minor. I'm really digging the story. I really like the story, even though some of the choices aren't choices that I would make.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah. So I got to say, Phil Casey here in the chat mentioning that episode 3 has an Obi-Wan Vader fight. Episode 4 or part 3 had an Obi-Wan Vader fight. Part 4 had a Leia rescue. So is the finale in part 6 going to have Ewoks?
Yeah, there were some moments in here where I was like, wait, we're doing this again?
Well, and to me, that's kind of a good transition, because I think what you pull out of this episode, especially being younger fans versus older fans, there's a lot of expectations with older fans, even kind of, you have your older fans, your sort of medium older fans that grew up with the prequels. And then you have the more current fans now that maybe have the sequels or just coming in off of the Clone Wars, and they've got their own sort of experience newly imagining it. So in some ways, I think your enjoyment, basically based on your expectations, is kind of dependent upon of which of those eras that you come in from. Because I agree, for the most part, this is a fun episode. It's very straightforward. We get some great stuff by Ewan McGregor. The concern right out of where's Leia, that is his drive. There's so much subtle stuff that he does. His relearning the Force. I loved, as the episode starts off, he's trying to move something, then it focuses to make a noise, and then he's working with blaster bolts, and halfway through the fight, he's got that Obi-Wan little swing going down, and it's like, yeah, he's getting back into it. I mean, there was a lot of cool stuff. Is it a rescue? Of course. Is this becoming kind of a standard mission sequence through some of the Star Wars films? Starting to feel like it a little bit. But this is where it would go. I mean, this is exactly the place where this story would have taken it. So you've got to have the rescue with Leia gone. That's what this whole point is. I mean, that's what the second episode was, and now we're jumping back into it again. So in some ways, it's repetitive, but it's where things are going. The reminder that I keep having to do, which interrupts some of my enjoyment of this, even kind of accepting where we're going and kind of where the storyline is, it's for kids. The show is for kids. We as adults can enjoy it, but the show is for kids. Mandalorian, same way, a little bit, I think, maybe a little skewer adult, but still, for the most part, it's made for kids. And that's where things get interrupting. I trip over that because I have different sort of expectations. And I just don't think everything has to be made that way. There's an upcoming Star Wars series with Jude Law that's got like Jude Law and some 10-year-olds lost in space in the Star Wars trying to get back. It's Lost Horizons or something like that, slated for next year. That sounds like a great kid show. Miss Marvel, which also premiered last night. I enjoyed the hell out of that. But I came into it understanding that this was made for kids. This is a teenage evolution story. So it's got that storytelling trope and style and appeal. And I can go with that. The problem is that I have as an older fan is occasionally I trip over the fact that, oh God, I forgot this is made for kids. You have a 10-minute torture scene with a 10-year-old. I mean, don't torture 10-year-olds or anyone, really. I mean, I'm not promoting that. But the whole thing is this drawn out, okay, machine's going to come down. All right, you did it, Leia. You better tell me. Are you sure you're not going to tell me? Well, you brought it on yourself. It's coming. It's coming. You can stop it now. And for like forever, it seemed to kind of go on. And I'm like, yeah, okay, this isn't. So it's one of those things that kind of just trip me up.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
The other one,
I just feel like though that just because something's made for children, it doesn't mean that it has to like. I compare the writing in this to any episode of Clone Wars or Rebels. Like I've been watching a lot of that, and I thoroughly enjoy it. But like you said, I get tripped up by all that other stuff where I'm like, okay, it. But it still gets me. It still tells.
sure.
They still tell compelling stories. They still get you where you need to go. You just have to go along the way. You have to realize that they're going to say some things and do some things that don't make sense to adults, but completely make sense for children.
Right. There is going to be mustache twirling. Okay. It's going to happen. Just accept it. There's going to be moments of bad guys just doing bad things to show that they're bad people. And we just need to kind of go with that. And again, I am fine. But it trips me up. And sometimes I got to say that it gets me that if I have to watch it a second or third time to really get past that and go, okay, I can just enjoy the storytelling, the bit of acting. And like you say, the girl playing Leia is awesome. I mean, the cast really is doing their job really, really well.
Yeah, it's Vivian Lyra Blair.
Thank you. I need to write that down.
Yeah, I don't know why I hadn't looked it up before. Well, they actually hid her for a little while because of spoilers and things like that. Again, brilliant keeping this under their hat. I still got to bring that up. Like that was still some brilliant hiding. Keeping her away from everything. Like that must have been a trial as a little girl, like wanting to tell everybody, "I'm Princess Leia, man."
Well, they brought the team from Marvel over to teach Star Wars how to keep secrets.
They kept Tom Holland and Mark Ruffalo away from the script, and the guy who played Finn.
John Boyega.
Yeah, John Boyega had to keep all those guys away from it. They probably didn't even know these shows were getting made.
But one of the other things that they had with this, and it's an interesting kind of play that I think that the show is playing with, is a sense of scale and scope. Because with the effects and with a lot of the things, the math, the volume, the effects and stuff that they can do with the larger spaces, they can do some amazing things. And yet, in some things, specifically to me, I'm thinking of the Force. They keep it all very minimal. The use of the Force in this is very minor. I mean, you get Vader where he's just out and he chokes people. And occasionally they'll pick up and they'll throw something, and that's fine. But there was something about it, and I guess this is even the trip for me from someone who really has enjoyed Clone Wars and Rebels and stuff like that, is you can get some great scope and scale of the Force happening. I mean, when we're in our underwater passage, because you got to have your glass-filled underwater passage.
Yeah.
And the crack is, I mean, that was cool. It was like, use the Force, and the guards are coming in. What's going to happen? And I'm in my mind going, this is great. They're going to open the door and he's going to let loose and put like a force wall in front of him. He's going to shoot back into the exit and they're going to get totally trashed. It's like, no, he breaks some windows and runs away from the water. The whole escape sequence, is kind of cool. And then it's like, we got this big face off and then two speeders come in, they shoot a bunch of guys. And then there's a little gunfight as they run to, they never headed towards a ship. They knew somebody was going to land and pick them up because they never even tried to make it to. I'm complaining. I'm sorry, folks. That's not what I mean.
No, but it is like, people talk about the Marvel formula. There's a Star Wars formula too. And it's just like, I was like, oh, they're trapped. Oh no. I mean, like if they suddenly had gunned them all down, I'd have been like, what? Like, and then, like freaking Uatu, the Watcher, just suddenly pops up in the corner of the screen going, and this is what would have happened. And all of a sudden we're in a multiverse situation or something. Like, then I'd been like, what is happening? But like, we knew, what's going to happen. It works. It entertains people.
Sure.
You expect it and you want it. These are cheering moments. These are for people who haven't seen a million different times. This is exciting as hell. This is, oh my God, moments. And
I gotta say, when their speeders first showed up,
everybody.
Yeah. And they did their strafe and I was like, yeah, man, big battle at the end. I mean, Obi-Wan doesn't even pull out the lightsaber. He uses this thing, which I was like, oh, and the only bit of force is picking up and throwing a box at the last one, man. I was hoping there'd be like, grab the ship with the force, throw these things down, other TIE fighters dropping down. I know I'm thinking big, but this is like the Inquisitor HQ base main thing. You know, you shouldn't be able to just jump in and jump out. And I know I'm whining and I'm
wait though. There was a laugh out loud moment though in that whole sequence, which was they just all these troopers and officers and just everybody deadly around them walking around, and they just walk out, and he might as well have been trying the multiple kid in the suit trick, because I was like, I laughed out loud, and I laughed out loud the second time I watched it tonight, where I was like, are you kidding me? He looked like when Indiana Jones was trying to put on like a uniform real quick after he'd knocked out a Nazi. He's like, okay, my hat's kind of on, the shirt's kind of on, and I'm walking through enemy territory, and nobody notices that there's like this huge lump. And I mean, she peeks out too, and I was like, I laughed so hard because I was like, give me a. Yeah. I mean,
it's made for kids.
It's made for kids. It's made for kids. Oh, but that was just, I mean, that was laughable. That was so funny. And I mean, it didn't take away from my enjoyment of it, but it really does bring you back down to earth where you're like, nope, this is what it is, you know?
Well, I think that's it. It's like, even though I can enjoy it, it does kind of pull me out of like, oh, my suspension of just disbelief just got dropped. You went too far.
We know this is not real. We know this is all fictional, but sometimes you go too far with that. And yeah, it's just to make you go like, come on.
Okay. And now I have to say, obviously, back on the Death Star to rescue Leia, I mean, the Inquisitorium to rescue Leia.
Yeah.
It would have been too much to take the stormtrooper armor, I know, but not being in disguise and wandering through the hallway, is that a better choice?
They might as well have put her in like a partial stormtrooper, like a helmet on her head, and just had her walk out with a stormtrooper helmet on, and him just going, you know, we're training him real young now, aren't we? You know, like,
sure. And I'm glad that Obi-Wan had the ultimate lockpick key. He could get into anywhere, even the high security areas. That was cool. But let's touch on to one of the little kind of creepy moments that we had is the tomb.
Oh, yeah.
Jedi plus tomb. I mean, there's a lot of talk, I know, on the internet. Some people have identified who a lot of these people are. Most of them are Jedi or characters. At the end, it looks like we even have this young Padawan in this ambery whatever. I think in Rebels, they kind of touched on this slightly, how the Inquisitors were holding the Jedi and could in some ways trap their consciousness and use that to kind of tempt and hold other Jedi to come in. And there was all sorts of really like creepy Sith magic-y stuff, which
that was probably the best part. And I really appreciated that it wasn't Easter eggy. I applaud the people who decide to go and look up every one of these very, unknown characters. But I'm glad that they were unknown characters. I'm glad that they didn't leave it open for something else. Like all of a sudden,
there's Mace Windu.
I was going to say Mace Windu, but I didn't want to be the one to say it because I know that's my dream.
Hey, but Samuel Jackson would never agree to that. He's like, I am not going to be in amber.
Yeah, you're not going to. Yeah, that would have just been. But, I'm glad that it was in there, and I'm glad that they got a feeling of this place. Now, whether that not they do anything with that, I don't know. I kind of doubt it because we've only got 2 episodes left. So I think it was just kind of in there to show how they operate and just giving us a little bit more of that. And because Obi-Wan Kenobi is like, what am I looking at? What is all this? What does this mean? Because he doesn't have any context for this really. He's been on Tatooine. He took off and ran. So like he's seeing something new and horrific himself. And Yeah, I don't know what they're gonna do with this, but there is that thing that they're talking about. Well, I won't talk about this, but go ahead.
Well, let me throw a couple things. Okay, one, there are rumors floating around of a season 2. These are
Okay,
completely unconfirmed.
sure.
And if they're coming from Giant Frickin' Robot or have those guys, they make up shit all the time. Would people like it? That would be great. People are talking about it. Of course, people are talking about it. That doesn't mean anything. And I really feel like this has to set up and finish its own story. And if you do have a season 2, it would have to be kind of something else. But we were talking last week about some of the Jedi, about the path. The kid that we had in episode 2 was named Corrin. His mom was named Neja. Both are characters from the Star Wars Extended Legends books that used to be canon or now are not. We also had Valen Halcyon's sign last week. That's the same one that Reva pulls out and drops down. We've seen these in a couple of systems now, and it's specifically Valen Halcyon's sign, who is Corran Horn's father. Corran Horn from iJedi. Michael Stackpole, main character in many of the X-Wing sagas. Told you folks I would pull that down last week. So while they may not, I'm wondering if they are setting up other stories with this. That yes, we're not going to talk anymore in Obi-Wan about this tomb, but we are connecting Rebels to this and to maybe other types of things of escaped stuff or people who's trapped, and maybe they'll have to come back in because they'll be tempted in or communicated by someone who they think that there's alive and trapped, but really isn't. They're in Ember goo of the Star Wars universe. So I'm wondering if they're doing a lot of that, which I mean, it's cool to be able to build off of. On the other hand, it's like, I hope they're not just throwing stuff in just to start seeding other series, because that would be kind of a bummer. But it would be a nice thing as kind of a through line of this path and stories and other Jedi, if they do want to further explore that.
Oh, it definitely feels like that. And again, that's another Marvel influence.
Yeah.
Like Disney is definitely taking many, many pages from the Marvel playbook, and some for good and some for ill. And I think they're just trying to see what works more and more. And I'm fine with it. Yeah, as long as I like the thought of interconnected stories that don't necessarily have to be told, because they know they've got you. They know you're going to watch the next thing. So, but I do wish that it makes me think of The Boys' new season of just we'll talk about it, but it does feel like the corporate, the new way to do corporate commercials. Like Transformers was a commercial for toys, and
we're doing commercials for
subtle.
movies. Yeah.
This is a little more subtle, and they reward you, by giving you stuff that connects, but it still does feel like they're just trying to set you up and ease you into the next things that they're going to say, and they reward you for paying attention and all that, and that's really cool. But yeah, I hope that eventually they'll find I don't know, once we get away from the supposed end of the Skywalker saga, I think we'll never actually. I think that's bullcrap, by the way. They're never going to ever get away from it fully. But
that's like the original series for Star Trek, man. You're just going to keep going back to that new series, the prequel and postquel, and
I mean, I'm still like we've both been busting out things. There's so much potential for what they can do and pull from, and I just hope that in the end it's always still fun. And the longer I'm around and the more I'm around Star Wars, and it's been such a part of all of our lives, that I'm finding myself just letting go of all of the the things that I feel like I have to have before I die. And it's like, it's just not that important as long as they're telling me good stories. And even if some of them feel a little bit commercially, again, if the story's good and the characters are good and it's written all right, you've got me. And
Sure.
I don't want to ever not be a Star Wars fan because of it getting too commercial. But I mean, it's been commercial my whole life. So it's, if I was going to get out, I would have gotten out a long time ago. I know there's some people that just suddenly are just over their thing where there's like, I'm done with Star Wars. I'm done with Star Trek or whatever it is. And I don't think I'll ever get there because I think, like I said, I gotta let go of the hangups that come with all the baggage of being like a fifth generation Star Wars fan or whatever that is.
It's just, I mean, that is fine, and I agree with it. You got to accept it what it is. It's
We
fun
got the
space
book.
opera. Oh yes, hold on. We're gonna take a little book moment. I pulled out my books. Rob actually has recently. He was very kind enough in pulling these out to remind me to grab them for you guys tonight because I was talking about it last week.
I went to a secondhand place and got me Tales from Jabba's Palace. These are books that I haven't owned in a really long time, so I didn't mind getting used copies. Tales from Jabba's Palace, and then I got the Corellian trilogy because Han Solo is the man. And if you are sick, if you haven't read the Star Wars books and you are looking for a more adult experience, you cannot go wrong with these. These are written by people who love and understand the lore. And if there was any justice, they'd have been the ones writing these things and adapting these stories and all that stuff. But it doesn't take away from your enjoyment. No, remember this, folks. Just because they're not giving you what you want, if you don't think they're giving you what you want, you always still have these things. Nobody can take that from you. And that's why, like, I think it's important to stop being so butthurt about certain things, is that it only is ruined if you let it be ruined for yourself. Everybody's experience is their own, and if it really means that much to you to hate on something because it's not giving you 100% what you want, then you really need to look in the mirror and ask, yourself some tough questions about, like, I don't know, maybe narcissism or something. I don't know. But I just think that, like, I look at this and I go, as much as I could be mad, I just open this book up and I go right back into when I was a kid again. And I don't know.
Yeah, look, it's you can look at it as multiverses if you're DC or Marvel fan, variations on thing, tales from the beyond, or what ifs if you want to try and actually put them into a place. I mean, for a long time, actually, these books were all canon. They all had to refer back to each other, each one. I mean, it was an incredible bit. The Star Wars, I mean, it became definitely very cumbersome, and there are a number of stinkers in all of those books for sure. But it is an interesting thing that they were able to, with just the hunger from the original series, be able to build out an entire canon and lore and history of multiple books, multiple authors, different years, written in different time sequences that all ended up overlaying into each other. I mean, and some incredible authors too.
Kevin Anderson.
Michael Stackpole, who does a lot of the X-Wing books, and also he's the guy behind Corn Horn, does a lot of these really good. The whole X-Wing saga is actually great. Aaron Elliston does a lot of the other ones in that series as well. It feels like this is almost a transition time, but I did want to ask one thing of what you think is going to be in episodes 5 and 6, because in a way, it feels like we kind of wrapped up. Rescued Leia, we're on a ship. It just says head to Alderaan, drop the kid off, get rid of Obi-Wan, because the guy's already said he's too hot, shouldn't go back. He shouldn't be at the headquarters anyway. Obviously, that's not going to happen, but I mean, what if they did just drop the kid off at Alderaan? That's where the tracker is. Obi-Wan heads home, and then you got 2 episodes of sand. No?
Yeah, if they take her back to, I can see them going. See, they should go right back to Alderaan, right?
Yes.
It shouldn't be it should be a nope, don't pass go, do not collect $200 situation. It should just be go right to Alderaan and drop her off but I don't think that's what's going to happen. And
well, no, and they're just going to forget about Obi-Wan at this point. I mean, what are they going to have to fake his death at a point? To me, Reva is definitely going to be the turncoat in here because, I mean, look, she really delayed on torturing the kid. She didn't want to be mean or anything like that. She gave her as much time in the world as possible. She even flinched last week when Vader started pulling people out. I don't buy her total evilness. I question her commitment to the Sith magic.
I thought you had predicted that Vader would kill her.
Yeah, my prediction is that she's actually after Vader and not Obi-Wan, even though she and Vader had a face-to-face, but there were a lot of other brothers and sisters in that room at the time.
They're definitely going to cover what we already know, which is we're going to waste some time talking about how she was one of the Padawans. And there will have to be the big real fight between Anakin and Obi-Wan because that previous fight didn't do it for me enough. Like
right.
I was for Vader to be so like wanting Obi-Wan so bad. I didn't understand why he just didn't just take him. And so
they're going to go back to the base and they're going to get caught and they're going to come down and kill a bunch of people. And then Obi-Wan's going to have to intercept the path thing and face off and remind Reva who she was. And she'll turn on Vader and fake Obi-Wan's death. And
that's going to piss off a whole bunch of people. But yeah, I agree. It's somewhere along those lines. Try not to over speculate because then we go down those rabbit holes that we know are never going to happen.
Yeah. Oh no, we'll speculate.
I think when we just say like it's like this, it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
And when we talk and one of the things we talked about before we started was, I mean, there's the stakes in this aren't really that high. Not for anybody that we care about. Characters like Wade die and yeah, it might really upset the other pilot, but I was like, he's just another guy he's Porkins. He's just he's just the guy who died.
Oh, and Wade,
they're all weepy.
I remember what you looked like.
I think but I just as long as we get a really kick-ass fight in the end, I think that's true. But they do have to figure out how, like, she knows he's Obi-Wan Kenobi. Leia knows it, right? They've said she's.
Oh yeah, totally.
She knows. So like, the only thing I can think of is that something has to happen to her brain. Like, is Obi-Wan going to make her forget who she is? Like, is he going to use the Force to, like, mind wipe her or something? I don't know. It's the only thing that I could think to save the canon at this point for it. If they don't, though, I'm just going to be, I'm fine with it.
But you're right. Ultimately, if they give us a good fight, if we get our good Vader Obi-Wan fight,
and we get the old music, we need well, maybe not quite that. Some form
of no, man, if they did a Duel of the Fates with the two of them, I may forgive everything that I had a problem with, which again isn't that much. It's all nitpicking. But okay, we'll have to see what happens.
It's all good. It's all fine.
So, Miss Marvel.
Yep.
That was kind of fun.
It was charming as hell.
Very colorful. I love the family. I love the dynamics. And again, to me, it's one of those things where it was like, okay, this is a Pakistani family. It's a Muslim family. It feels like every other American family. I mean, look, we're a land of immigrants. Everybody has their old school pull and religion and culture that they want to stick to. And the kids coming out there. even though it was a new story, there was a refreshing familiarity about the whole thing. It's like, yeah, man, this is what we all go through.
And it kind of followed a bit of the video game beginning that came out, the Avengers video game that crashed and burned. Well,
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm
it
a
didn't.
Marvel fan. I didn't play it.
I own it and I won't finish it. But the beginning of it had the whole Avengers Con thing. But yeah, I want to bring up that Miss Marvel was charming as hell. It really was, and the family, yeah, I loved her mom, I loved her dad, I loved her brother. Uh, I thought she was great. I like that they let her be a brat. I like that she was like a total kid.
Mm-hmm.
Like I like that they let her make mistakes that clearly are bad mistakes, and she hurt her family. Like they didn't let her off the hook.
Yeah.
I'm just a kid. No, there were consequences. Her family bent over backwards for her at every turn. They seem really cool about everything that she likes and does, and only has a few things about that they ask of her. And like any kid, she's so into what she's doing that she makes these big mistakes, and I loved that. That's something we haven't seen, is a family story.
Mm-hmm.
And I really liked that. I liked that Avenger Con looked like a con.
Yeah.
Because but there was, but the only thing was is that it's the first one, and there was like hardly anybody there. And I was thinking to myself, you're just gonna roll up on Avenger Con, like, and there's no like that place would be the biggest party in the world. There would be so many people, and it just. But I like that it was. I still like that the inside felt like a con. It
Well,
looked
it
like a
felt
con.
like
It was
one of the
homemade.
old cons before it
Yeah,
got really big, that
yeah,
was, in the convention center, they picked out a couple little halls and just had their little bits, I thought there was kind of a nice kind of throwback feel to its simpleness with that.
yeah. And they didn't get into the powers thing. They set the world up well in this. They set the characters up well. Um, I was surprised that there wasn't anybody in this at all.
It's just the first one.
Yeah,
I think we'll get cameos.
but also that at the first Avengers Con, there's no Avengers there. None. Not a single freaking one. They couldn't even get like, I don't know, War Machine or something to come in there. Like I'm thinking somebody like lower tier. I shouldn't say War Machine's lower tier. I just mean like
They got Ant-Man's head.
yeah, they got Ant-Man's head. I'm trying to think of somebody they could have just thrown in there, but I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was really sweet, and I'm more excited now for Miss Marvel going forward, because I had no expectations for it. I don't think you had expectations for it.
I didn't, and honestly, after I watched Obi-Wan, I was gonna watch Ms. Marvel. This middle of the night, I'm like, I'm feeling a little bummed out. I'll watch it in the morning. I woke up, I threw it in. I'm like, okay, I'm
Yeah,
feeling good.
yeah,
I'm really enjoying this. And you're right, the characters are great. She is awesome in this, just a wonderful balance of nervous kid and trying to figure out their way and feeling very authentic about it. What was it? Oh, the way that they did the texting in the background. I actually had to rewatch it to
yeah,
catch all the little messages and things that weren't
yeah,
just like what I would think of art and were actually responses back and forth. I thought that was beautifully
yeah.
done.
They really did a good job with art and artistry, and her creativity, and how much of a passion she has for all this, and like how a lot of people do. So many people can relate to this. So if you've ever been to a convention and you've seen so many people put so much time and effort into costumes and things like that, it was really cool to like represent that side of the fandom
Yeah.
without getting too extreme into it. And yeah, her Iman Vellani, yeah,
Yeah.
she was fantastic. She gave me she made me think of Haley Steinfeld from Hawkeye.
Yeah.
I got real good vibes, and if that's where it's headed, if the young actors that they're casting to be maybe a part of a new Avengers or young Avengers team, that makes me a little more excited for it, because I was not excited for that previously,
Well,
and I know that.
they're getting a good group of people in. So I wanted to just jump in real Scott. Hi, Eric. Eric Scott joining us here in the chat. Yeah, we've transitioned from Obi-Wan. It was a short episode. We didn't feel right talking longer about the episode than the episode actually was. And we're just going to talk a little bit of Miss Marvel and the boys before we wrap up here. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah. But I think I like that they left it in a good place, and I don't know what's going to happen next. You know, like we
Yeah.
really just, she got her powers, and then what? I don't know, because I honestly, I don't read Miss Marvel comics. Never have.
Yeah. I don't know anything. I know very little about the character outside of just the general overlays. I'm excited to go in. You know, I'm excited to meet all of the friends and everything. Um, though, of course, I think every team has to have the tech genius at this point, right? It's like that's a
The guy in
requirement.
the chair, yeah.
Somebody's best friend has to. If your best friend is a brilliant tech scientist, you may get superpowers. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, and I loved how they did just sort of jump in with that. They gave her, she had an experience. She was kind of freaked out by the whole thing. There was an instinctive, and even at the end, you're right, the stuff with the parents. Her dad got super excited, and then he broke her heart. She broke his heart, and she's feeling bad about it. And even at the end, the whole mom thing, which I again thought was a very relatable, down to earth, like, what do you do when you got to think of yourself? You're being a crazy kid. Stop doing the very natural parental stuff. But you're right, there's that brattiness, because she's like, what do you want to be? Heads in the clouds or down here on earth? And she's like, cosmic.
And I mean, it's talking about things that I think people need to hear. Is, yeah, it's great to I'm one to talk, right? But we're all one to talk. But there's like, when they talk about reality, you have to have that balance of reality. That, yeah, it's fine to want to encourage your kids to reach their potential and follow their dreams and everything else, but there's also reality that, yes, you may want to be a superhero, but guess what? You know, the people that become heroes or actors or whatever we all want, it's this much. And if you're not prepared for failure to actually live in the reality, it's an important message to everyone.
Oh yeah. Yeah, let's make it vote. Anybody who makes it has won the lottery.
Yeah.
It may not be an actual physical lottery ticket, but yeah, your big actors, they won the acting lottery. They put in time, they put in effort, but you know, a lot of people do. And not everybody clicks on. That's with any industry, with anything out. Just that's the way things work.
My favorite scene in that episode was when she broke her parents' heart. When they went above and beyond, and they weren't gonna, they decided they were gonna let her go, and she made a costume for her, and he gets all green for her, and that's just not good enough. Like, if any of my family had been like that for me growing up, because they weren't, they thought comic books were the devil. Literally, they thought Spider-Man was a demon. I did not have this kind of support. So looking at this and seeing like that it doesn't matter what your culture is.
Mm-hmm.
Families are families everywhere.
Yes.
It's the most important thing. One of the most important messages that they can put out here on these shows is to try to tell, like, these a-holes out there that want to, act like they're the only race on the planet. It's important for them, for people to make content that shows kids another alternative to live and think. And that's what I think a show like this can do, is and so those people will probably think it's indoctrination or some crap like that, but there, everything is indoctrination. It's just you choose, what you're indoctrinated into, hopefully, instead of being forced into it.
Hey,
And
a lot of prejudice is all built on fear. Fear is built out of not knowing. The more you know people, the more you expand, the more you connect with different people of different races, of different ethnicities, of different orientations, of different whatever, the better that you're going to be for the most part, because you're going to start to relate and realize, just like this, is this a Pakistani family? Is it a Christian family? Is it a born again? Is it, is it, is Shinto? Is it Buddhist? It's all the same.
yeah, it didn't matter. I wasn't worried. I was like, so they're Pakistani. I don't care. Like they're just people. We're all just people, man. And you can, have a chance to learn. There's a chance to be a little less ignorant about. I don't know anything about Pakistani families, but now I know a little bit more. And I like that. I like that a lot, and I want more of it because I didn't know I wanted it, and now I know I do, and I'm gonna be a sponge for that information. I like knowing that. Yeah, I'm watching a cool Marvel show, but I'm also learning about more cultures other than mine. So that next time I see somebody from Pakistan, I'll be like, oh yeah, and I can have something that I can understand and relate to. I'll have more context on it. And then, like the more and more that we understand each other, and the less fear is there, and the less confusion and awkwardness and all that. And if if that's bad, then I don't want to be right.
Yep. As Eric's got here, fear leads to the dark side. Though, yes, right, that is a wrong series, but still same overall company.
Yep. It still works.
And Marvel did a lot of Star Trek comics back in the early 80s as well. So, you know, that's all right. That's actually where the whole clone emperor thing first came from, folks.
Right. Yeah. Was that was I can't remember the name. Is it Dark? No. I had it.
Yeah.
I lost it.
It's funny.
Jedi, right? It's anyway.
Yeah, I never read the actual thing. They kept referring back to it in all the books, and it took me forever to realize where they were like, what are you talking about? Luke going to the dark side and a
Heir to the Empire?
No, Edge of the Empire. Heir to the Empire was the Thrawn series, and that took place afterwards. Okay. They did do a clone bit within that, and later on, where they talked about it, but
yeah.
Star Wars nerd talk.
Oh yeah,
but these, of course, weren't the only two active things going on. Another show that was just like a refreshing frickin' drink of water, I gotta say, with everything going on. The Boys Season 3 dropped on Friday or Thursday night, depending on where you're at.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
yeah. Now we had been covering this show before, but now we've had to scale. We've scaled back. So this is where we got to try to fit it into an Obi-Wan.
I got to talk for 12 minutes about the boys, folks.
This isn't an indictment to the Obi-Wan episode. It's just there was a lot going on this week, and Darren and I both only have so much time.
Exactly. Exactly. And again, it was a short episode, so not much. Again, there wasn't much to talk about. We talked for a half hour about Obi-Wan. We'll take a few minutes to talk about these other bits. So, yeah, season 3. Look, I'm just going to say this straight off. Homelander is terrifying.
Yep.
Absolutely. Yep. Terrifying. Anthony Starr is just, oh my God. The levels and freakiness and depth of chaos that he has brought. I am terrified every time he's on the screen, and I love it so much. Oh my God. The meat and potatoes that this brings. Just, there's so much kind of crap out there, and this is so good and so meaty and so direct, and the writing is just.
This is what adults. This is for us. This is. This is like you get through 3 episodes of that, and you're like, oh, and it's been a while. It's been a while since we got season 2. It's been over for a long time, and they really just. man, they just bring it. They just brought it. And I think that it feels like the culmination of everything. And it feels like like we've always been on edge with Homelander, but now we know we're right. It is all about to go down. Like, he is so good. Everyone is so good on this. Everybody is getting better and better, getting more and more comfortable with their characters, I think. Like, and Carl Urban, oh man,
I
both
miss
him.
seeing Carl Urban more often, man. I love that dude.
But yes, Homelander is the, if you don't have Anthony Starr as Homelander, this show doesn't have this kind of impact, because everybody else is they're fine. They're scary too. Like when the fast guy is like standing next to Huey, that whole thing, you know, at first he's standing next to Homelander, then he's standing next to him, the man who killed his girlfriend, and that fear, but like he knows that he's working for like the right people, or he thinks he's working for the right people, and everything's still working. He's got a little bit of cockiness, but he's still got the fear, that tension that is throughout all these episodes is just, oh, it is like what we've been missing for a while. And I just didn't know how badly I was missing this show, because we can finally let loose and just be as brash and insane as we want to be. Nothing is off the table. Nothing is off limits on
that
this
opening scene where the tricky guy gets, oh my God. And like, you knew it was going to go wrong. That's the thing. That's the great thing about the show. You know, they're going to be pushing so many limits. Whenever anything starts going, your mind just starts to go, oh, how is this going to go horribly wrong? Oh, they're not going to do. They did something even worse. Which, I mean, look, this is how you mix up expectations. You know, you let people know where you're going to go, and then you take it a little further, a little different direction.
Huey's moment of, oh my God, my boss is the bad guy, or the person that I thought was going to help me make things better is one of these people. And that whole sequence of exploding hands and face and heads and bodies and rain coming, blood coming down like rain, and everything about the payback team, and getting Laurie Holden in here from Walking Dead, and Jensen Ackles, and freaking the guy from Boondock Saints, and Young Indiana Jones, and Butcher taking a little Compound V, and just so many things.
Oh yeah, and I love Jensen Ackles' Soldier Boy, which is like the most un-Captain America you could get. I mean, they twist all of these great expectations, because again, we see who they're all based off of, so they can just do the immediately twist version of that, just so it's like, oh, this is how it would really go. What if it wasn't a cool guy like Steve Rogers, but it was a dick who took a super soldier serious?
Yeah.
What if everyone was racist and sexist and rapey?
Yeah, and bringing Starlight on as co-captain, and knowing how that's gonna go, and watching Homelander's reaction to people like the Deep and other people getting more attention than him, and just how awful like he treats people, like these people that keep forgetting who he is every once in a while, like, and he reminds them who he is. And Giancarlo Esposito still just so good as the,
oh my
God,
God,
I want him to hear, like, I know we're trying to jam in a lot here, because
talk about defying expectations. How he even deals with everything. It's like, oh, you're doing it. Every single turn defies expectations in the best kind of way.
It does. And like I said again before we went on, I know that I've had high expectations for previous seasons that didn't live up to them, but where we are now, everything is, it feels like everything's on the line. Everything's about to just pay off, and there's real mystery here, and they're doing stuff from the comics. They're being so like the compound V thing and them taking it, and whether or not what the consequences of that'll be, and him seeing Homelander talk to him on the TV, that exchange when he comes to his house, and you're just like these two powerhouses, like Urban's like not afraid, he's accepting like whatever happens here happens, and Homelander's like, it's like he doesn't have anybody else to talk to.
That's the coolest thing. It's like, and again, is it really happening, or is it just in one of their minds or both of their minds? I mean, to me, that's the fun thing. You can sort of play with all of these scenes, and you're right. It's like Butcher doesn't care anymore, and Homelander needs somebody that he can really open up and talk to.
Yeah, because the Nazi that he's keeping alive is still talking Nazi nonsense, like I thought that, and as much as that was like, some people could say, why did they have her come back? Why keep her around at all? Her character, I loved it. It just showed how of a needy little child he still is. He's keeping this poor woman alive. No, I shouldn't say poor woman. He's keeping this. In any other context, this would be like, what are you doing this to this poor lady? But they needed to show that, like,
Nazi. Damn, no, yes.
That he's still obsessed with having somebody understand him and be close to. Is he has no one that he considers to be his equal, so he just has certain people around. And the only times that this show fails is when they still try to cling to this hope, like in the Huey character. But Huey's now like, he's given up. He finally understands. He finally gets Billy Butcher. I've been waiting. I think that's one of the reasons why I love this so much, is that Huey's finally the character I wanted him to be. He had to get completely broken down to finally see that how things are, like how they're going to have to be, like Butcher's way or the highway. I'm always I've not been a fan of people that get in the way of other characters getting things done. And so like when I first watched Breaking Bad, and I know Walter White is a villain in the end, but I did not care throughout the run of that show how bad he was. I wanted to see him wipe the board clean of everyone that got in his way. And it happened, and it played out perfectly. And for this show, I just needed to wait 2 seasons to finally get that character, because I love Jack Quaid. Jack Quaid is a fantastic actor, and to see him completely broken down, like when the blood has come raining down and he's behind the dumpster and he's just witnessed somebody they trust kill somebody in cold blood, and the crying, he is sobbing because he knows he's been fooled again. He kept thinking that this was the right way, and it's finally going to work, and we're finally going to make some progress. And he realizes in this moment, there is no other way. Butcher's way has been the only way this whole time. And I hate to say that I enjoyed watching his soul kind of be crushed here.
No, but those are the arcs, because you're right. You had to have that do-good, that stand in the way to do all this in order to get this payoff to really work properly.
And that was just in the first episode.
And I love the fact that he didn't drag it out with Butcher. It was like, almost wanted to. It was like, nope, this is it. And of course, Butcher's going to hold over him and just become this whole thing. But even that last little moment when, they're talking and Butcher's just about to blow up on him. And he's like, no, man, I understand. This is the way that it is. I totally get that what you're doing with your boy, because that was, when he went off, when Bully went off against his, I know it's not his kid, but it kind of is. That was kind of heartbreaking. But even then, you've got Huey accepting look, man, I understand why you did it. You just sometimes you gotta make the hard choices. And then again, doesn't even let him finish that scene before he has to throw it up all over him.
Yeah.
From the compound V stuff.
Yeah. Like it never lets the kind of earnestness take control.
Yeah.
There always has to be the smack of reality. Like, nope. This is what's really, like this is what this show really is. And I enjoyed the flashbacks, showing what happened on that mission.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that quite a bit. And yeah, he needed to tell. It's a scene that we've seen in so many things. It's the old yeller, get out of here. You can't be, like the sending the you have to tell the kid no, like you have to make him feel bad. You got to make him hate you because in the end you're just trying to save his life, and that's the most important thing. And
yeah,
and keeping it, the kid just doesn't understand that. And I don't know. It almost feels like now that we've been talking about this, it's like, why are we talking about Obi-Wan? Not a diss on Obi-Wan, because we're enjoying it. But like once we start talking about this, it's like everything comes alive. Everything is like just jacked up, and the adrenaline. It's like, where's Don? Where's Don? We need Don here real quick.
Don in here.
Don, we need you to tell us all the crazy thoughts that you have on this. But
again, I think part of that is also we know what we're getting from the boys, and it delivers, and it delivers more than we were going for. It can commit to the extremities, and Star Wars to a certain extent is kind of hobbled because it's trying to reach so many different audiences because it wants to be so 4-quadrant. And to be honest, look, just do a teenage one. Just not do a kids, just do a teenage one, and I'll go with that ride. Look, Baby Yoda is awesome, and I will watch. And I realize that's the sort of kid you can't have too long of any serious moment without. There's Baby Yoda, and we go, okay, I get that. And yeah, look, Leia is super cute. But that's not what I was expecting from Ewan McGregor returning as Obi-Wan. That's not what we were sold in that sense. So look, your cinema score is going down. That's not our fault. That's your fault. Our expectations were different. And if this is what Star Wars is going to be, that's okay.
Yeah.
I just have to adjust my expectations and know that, look, man, in Andor, there's going to be an 8-year-old. I don't know why. I don't know how, but I'm telling you, there's going to be an 8-year-old at the center of Andor.
Yeah.
Or K9 is not going to be as murdery. Or I don't know. You do have you do have Alan Tudyk's robot, and he is murdery and charming. So maybe that will compensate for not having.
Yeah, I'm hoping that the robot will put the 8-year-old in his place just about every other line. We'll have the kid being a kid, and then the robot just being like, "Are you sure we can't shoot him out the airlock?"
That's right. So you can have the quippiness. You can have the quippiness of your Jarvis.
Yes.
Just slightly more murdery.
Yes.
Okay. That's cool. Well, awesome. Okay, man, for about an hour, and I think we've kind of covered everything. That's awesome.
We've given everybody a taste of all of it and what we think. And yeah, it definitely feels like we're finishing strong. And yeah, The Boys season 3. It's for real, everybody. It is for real. And if you have not caught up on it, just watch it. Just watch it. Watch all of it. I should just go back and rewatch the whole thing. But yeah.
I'm also watching Invincible, which I never caught last year when it came on, and everybody else did. So to me, that's the perfect compliment for The Boys right there, because is also.
Oh yeah.
It's kind of a perfect little blend right
here.
Yeah.
And it's made by, produced by the same people that do The Boys. So it's like,
now,
Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg, Well, that's the last thing I wanted to talk about was in The Boys was the shots that they take at everyone. Everyone. They take shots at Amazon. They take shots at Disney. They take shots at all of corporate America. And that's such a thing that we all want right now. Even if it's just a frivolous way to laugh at our own society and our acceptance that we all know what they're doing. Mm-hmm. And it's a way for everybody to say, we know what you're doing, even if we can't stop you.
Oh no, all of the corporate openings, the little sets that they have for like every episode of this is the special and this is what Vought's doing. Yeah, they really don't pull their punches on it.
No.
Again, it's
The
what we
comment that
need
they
right
make
now.
about the release the whatever cut and the
Oh, the whole Snyder bit was awesome.
and whether or not
Oh,
they should just dump it on the streaming platform, like, oh, that was the best line of whether we should just dump it on the streaming service, like, because so many things feel like that, just like, well, we got to keep the subscribers up, like, we'll just throw anything out there, because already a lot of these new channels are just got so much garbage thrown on them that it's
yeah.
it's just hilarious.
So
yeah.
why is The Boys worth it? Because they don't pull their punches on anything. Do you think the superhero genre is goofy and unrealistic? Well, they'll take that to task. Do you
And
think
you'll find
you're
something else.
dreaming of doing the right thing is? They'll take that to task. You have problems with certain corporations, comics, politicians? They'll take all of them to task.
Oh my God, yeah. Oh my God, yes. All right.
It's just good time. So,
Yeah.
so maybe at the end we may talk about one or two things afterwards. We'll see how the episodes go. We're still going to be focusing on Obi-Wan for at least the next 2 weeks as we're going on here.
Early for the Obi-Wan talk. Stay for everything else.
Stay for everything else. Yeah, I have no idea where they're going next week. I mean, okay, they're going back to the base where they're going to be chased, and then there's going to be death, and then Obi-Wan's going to have to connect with. Okay, there's 2 more episodes. They could have ended it now. We'll see. I'm looking forward, and you're right. If we get a good fight, everything will be forgiven. That's all we want. A good Force lightsaber battle.
Yeah.
But next week, Mark from Enchantment Eternity is going to be here too. So it'll be a fun little discussion. I'm going to be on the road, so I'll probably be like in a car as we're talking about all of this stuff, but I'm not going to miss the show, folks. I'm going to be here for you. Anyway, Rob, anything you want to tell the folks? Final statements, what you're doing, where they can find you?
This is the only place I'm at. And that's true.
It's going to be here next week.
I'm here until Darren says I can't be. I'm available for any content that is D's reviews related. Otherwise, I'm just living my life. You can find me on my Twitch channel, Smirking Rob Plays. And I've got a Discord, and if anybody, if you really want to be part of the Discord, I'm sure we can make it happen. It's just a place for people like if you want to, it's my Twitter. It's my new Twitter is my Discord. Yeah. And we do Critical Role, watch parties. It's a place for all of us that are kind of in a little group, our own little clique, if you will. But it's a very, it's not exclusive people. It's anybody who really, really, if you give a crap about what I'm doing, that's where I'm at. So you can always, if you want to be a part of the Discord, I will try to figure out how to make that happen. But it's really only for people that are really interested in the reality of my life and other people's lives. It's a place for us to all share all sorts of stuff. It's random. So, but otherwise, that's it. I'm just living life.
Right on, right on. Well, like I said, I'm D. You're watching my channel. Thanks so much for watching us live. Rich Room was in here. Eric, Scott, Rena, Dietrich. The boys that drink water I need. Yes, I get that all from Prime, baby. I get it from Amazon. I think where I get most of my stuff. Eric Scott, also here in the chat. Bill Casey as well. Everyone joining us in the archives, thanks so much. Be sure, like, subscribe, hit the notifications. That way you won't miss any of these reviews. We got 2 more weeks of Obi-Wan coming up. Then I've got to see when we're going to be dropping with Westworld coming at the end of the month. So excited for that to come back. And look, we're not reviewing it. I'm just throwing out because I'm excited and I just saw it's going to be dropping in the month. Beavis and Butthead.
Oh yeah,
new movie's coming out. Yeah, it's gonna be cool. It's gonna be so cool. I'm really excited. It's stupid, but it's gonna be fun. Anyway, thanks everyone for joining. We'll catch you next time.